Welcome back to Morning Movers. I'm Diane King Hall coming to you live from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. We are seeing crude oil prices spike amid the continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, West Texas Intermediate sitting above $104 a barrel. For more, we want to welcome in Tucker Perkins. He's the president and CEO of Propane Education and Research Council. So we'll talk across energy in general, but I want to start out with where we sit with oil prices. We're sitting above 104 for WTI. Brent also spiking above $108 a barrel. We didn't walk away from this summit between President Trump and Xi Jinping in China with anything close to a resolution on the Strait of Hormuz. So walk us through just your high-level view on how you're looking at oil right now first.
First off, it's very much an international view versus an American view. I mean, I think Americans are sitting in a vastly different place than almost anybody else who's dependent to a degree on someone else's oil. I think it's just a matter of timing. If we had had this conversation 12 weeks ago, it was to me unbelievable when the president's saying it's just going to be a few days, a few weeks, that we'd be talking about WTI over $104 a barrel. My all-time cap prediction had been 110, and now if the analytics, the bright analysts are saying this could be $175 to $200 if it continues. And I think here's the key theme. Iran is nearly out of places to put their oil. So they're clearly going to be in a position to have some kind of agreement unless they're going to shut down their complex, which I don't think they want to do from an economic standpoint. But it's just a matter of when does this get resolved. I think the other piece of that, though, Diane, is that when it's resolved, you hear a lot of people saying prices will drop immediately. I'm not in that camp. I may be a contrarian, but I think we're nearly at, if not actually at, the tipping point for a vast change in not only relationships around the world, who has crude, who makes crude, who needs crude, but also how fast can we resupply where we need it to be. And it is so dynamic. I would guess that this conversation is going to be different today at 12 noon than it is now at 8:30 Eastern.
Great point, Tucker. And then when you talk about the tipping point that you see, how severe are you expecting the energy shock to be given the millions of barrels a day that are disrupted right now?
Well, I think it's going to be significant. Only, again, I'm not worried about whether Americans or Canadians are going to actually run out of gasoline or diesel fuel, or certainly we're in a wonderful place for natural gas and propane. We'll talk about that. But clearly the Indians who are so reliant on propane, natural gas, diesel fuel, I mean, they're living day to day, hand to mouth. You see, yesterday Cuba physically ran out of gas. Now, no electricity, no nothing for generally 22 out of 24 hours in the day. So I think it's a very different situation. I think most of the world will survive this, but they're going to clearly pay more. The numbers are pretty clear. The Strait used to pass, give or take, 20 million barrels a day. 14 or so million of those barrels aren't being replaced. The number's just pretty clear this week. We've lost 1.1 billion gallons of crude oil, 1.1 billion gallons of crude oil since this event began. And eventually we need to replace that. However you want to look at it, we are pretty much matched supply demand on a day-to-day basis. So we've got to get these strategic reserves filled up. I would give the president credit. He's pulling out everything he can do to make this less painful for Americans. Just yesterday, he talked about changing gasoline blending rules. Historically, we do something different in the winter than we do in the summer. This brings a little bit more butane into the gasoline mix. He's waived the Jones Act twice now. I'm seeing a different relationship with Venezuela than we had even contemplated 6 months ago. So you see these alliances beginning to form, but I am quick to say that for the American consumer, it's very different. Yes, we're paying more for gasoline and diesel. We're not paying much more for natural gas and propane. And I think it's a topic for a whole nother day, but there is one other event still playing out, and that is Americans' thirst for electricity, the quest for more data. And you see that every day. Yesterday is a big day with chip IPOs, I understand. But that battle is still going on at home, and that's a battle around diesel fuel versus natural gas and propane. And so We're seeing a tremendous demand for U.S. products, whether it's at home or abroad.
Does that, when you think about nat gas and propane, does that insulate the U.S. effectively? And, do you see a bigger role, for instance, for propane globally from here?
Absolutely. In fact, and for both natural gas and propane, I'm coming off, this is kind of a big show season. I'm coming off a big transportation show last week, and it's probably more talk about natural gas and propane fueled vehicles than I've seen in the last decade. As we think about data centers, clearly primary data center, yeah, they're looking how can I use natural gas to make power. But when there's not enough natural gas or natural gas mains, they're talking about how can I use propane, because those two commodities, natural gas and propane, are absolutely plentiful in the US. So plentiful, we can export record amounts and still have record amounts to use at home without even impacting the price. So, with certainty, we're seeing people contemplate how to use natural gas today. The mains are in place, the supply is in place. How can we use it today? And that same logic is applying to propane in a very big way. Propane industry has really done a good job of, the infrastructure is in place, the ships were in place, so moving it around the world, and we're going to see that continue through this whole till the conclusion of this Iran conflict. But even after that, it's much bigger than that, because it's about data center growth, it's about industrial demand, it's about these new alliances that are forming, uh, and it's going to be a really dynamic time, not only in the U.S. but around the world for the next 2 to 3 months for sure.
Thank you, Tucker. Appreciate your perspective this morning. That's Tucker Perkins. He's the president and CEO of the Propane Education and Research Council.